Counter-Strike has a skill ceiling issue that is causing a lot of teams not to qualify for the major tournaments. And no, not a skill issue, before all of you write that in the comments, a skill ceiling issue. And this is something that I've been thinking about. The PGL Middle Eastern Close Qualifier finished this weekend, and it didn't make me think about the teams that made it. More made me think about the teams that didn't make it. You know, the teams that didn't quite qualify. It is no secret that EU Counter Strike, or that's what I call it, Counter Strike is largely dominated by the EU scene. It's been like this forever. You have the odd times where there is an NA team, but these days most teams are just international and they are largely dominated by these teams. This had me thinking about why doesn't different teams from different regions just qualify? Like, just win. Am I right? However, it's not always that simple. I think the issue is much larger than that. I'm from South Africa, so our region is extremely small, and we probably have like four teams that go head to head all the time, and then Team A is at the top, and they're beating everyone, and then they play against Team B until Team B gets a little bit better because they've only been scrimming against Team A, and it's like a rinse and repeat because the teams have the little moment to shine until the next team from Team B, C, or D, they get a little bit better, or they figure out how to only win Team A and then they beat them and they dominate the scene for a bit. And it's just a rinse and repeat cycle at that point. And this had me thinking, is this the same for every region, or is it the same for every small region? I've recently spoken to, our boy Mistim over on the Ninjas in Pajamas Academy team, and he said the same thing. You're going to hit a skill ceiling in your region. You're going to hit a skill gap, a skill point where you can only get so much better if you're playing against the same teams over and over again. If you're playing the same people, you're only going to be able to practice to get better against them. And the moment you go and you play any other team, it is a completely different ball game. He had the exact same scenario where he was the best of the best in our country. In South Africa, they were dominating the scene. And the moment they go over and they play against an EU and NA team, they get absolutely rolled. Within the first few rounds, they get red, and it's almost like you're hitting the ceiling. You just can't beat them. If you're playing in a small region, you're practicing, you're demo reviewing the same people over and over, and it's only those people. And what you're going to do is you're only going to get better against them. And then at a point where you're going to dominate them, it's just going to be kind of a flat line because you can only innovate so much if you're already beating the same players over and over again. And the moment, like I said, you go overseas, all these players go and they play the qualifiers, they play these big qualifiers, they get absolutely dumpstered because they've only been able to innovate as much as possible against the people that they're used to playing and not new players. And by new players, I mean new teams that have been playing this game just as long as them, but against different teams, bigger teams, stronger teams. Now, I guess the main question is here, is this a problem within the game, or is this a problem with the players? I don't think so personally. My personal thoughts and opinions comes down to the fact that if you want to be the best, if you want to be better, if you want to grow, the reality check has to set in that you will not be able to do this in smaller regions. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from playing this game. I am in no shape or form a pro player. I am a matchmaking premier Andy. I didn't even play Face It. I played Face It once and I got like level 2, level 3, if it was even that much. I think the reality check needs to set in for some people, getting an understanding of what it is going to have to take to make it. Now, I'm not saying, once again, that you shouldn't try and go pro for this, but I think the only way to really broaden your horizons is quite literally to be able to go play for an EU or an NA team. I think that's why we have so many international teams. And if you're lucky, or if you've been fortunate enough to be in one of these teams that they are able to send you overseas where you can go boot camp in Europe or in North America for like 6 months to a year in order to get better. Other than that, it's going to be a hard grind to get to the top. It's going to be a hard grind to get into the tier 2 scene. Dare I even say tier 1 scene. The skill ceiling issue is not an issue within the game itself. It's an issue that is revolved around the game, but it's also not really an issue, if that makes sense. Like, I'm trying to wrap my brain around the fact that how does it work? Like, what can we do, to break through those skill ceilings? And I just wanted to do a little bit of investigation or just talk about it a little and just try and get some insight from other people as well, because this has been picking my brain. Like, how are these teams doing so well in their respective regions, and then they go overseas and they play their tier 2, tier 3 teams who's also trying to qualify for these major events, and then they get absolutely dumpstered, and you're kind of flabbergasted because you see these teams play all the time and they're just so good and they're playing so well, and then they lose to the first team they play when they go into international waters. I also think it goes a little bit further than that, not only just within the pro scene, but also within the game itself when it comes to the skill ceilings. I'm talking, of course, about premium matchmaking. If you look at premium matchmaking, Premium matchmaking in small regions, there's so many players that are fluctuating in rank. Their ranks are high. You know, they have high ratings. They're like 22, 25, 28, 9,000, 30 million rated, but they're only playing against the same players in the small regions over and over. They're getting rating because they're beating the same players over and over and over, and then their ranks fluctuate, and everyone thinks that these must be the best players in the world. But in retrospect, they're just playing against the same people over and over. And I've always wondered, what can Valve do? What can Valve or Counter Strike itself do? To maybe even out the ranks a bit. Not that there's anything wrong with having a high rating. I think it's awesome if you're able to do that. But it gets to a point where it is once again the skill ceiling being met. Yes, you're growing in rating, your rating's going up, you're dropping 30 frags every single game, but you're not getting any better because you're only beating the same people over and over in your smaller regions. Whereas if I had to watch a EU streamer or a NA streamer, these guys are almost never playing the same people in Premier. Yes, face it, ESEA, those exist, and it's kind of like a content farm because the pros are playing against the pros, and it's nice to watch. But if you look at premium matchmaking itself in the smaller regions, these players are playing the same people over and over again. So what is my end line here? What am I really talking about? What am I getting at? Well, it seems if you want to make it into the pro scene, if you want to, broaden your horizons and make it big in Counter-Strike, which I think is a dream for a lot of people still, a lot of fans of the game. Definitely not for me because I'm horrible at this game and I'm fine with that. I'm a fan of the pro scene. That's why I'm here. I'm here to watch them play. I'm here to watch them game. But it seems if you want to make it in the big scenes, being in a small region, it's almost like you're playing the game on extra hard mode. Aside from the fact that you're grinding every day, you're putting in the hours, you have to play for teams, you have to play for scrims. The only way to really make it is by going to EU or NA and trying to build your way or climb your way into the likes of Liquid, Complexity, or the Navi Academy teams and all that. Is this going to be the skill seeding for everyone going forward, or is this the reality check that a lot of players are going to need to get in order to go pro in this game? I'm in no shape a pro player. I will never be a pro player. I am a fan of the pro scene, like I said earlier. I am a pro at watching the game. And this is just something that tickled my brain a bit, something that made me think, why do we have these smaller teams that do so well in their regions and then they go overseas and they get absolutely dumpstered? And it sucks to see. And it's just something that tickled my brain. And I just wanted to make a video on it. I just wanted to talk and see if I can get some of your input. What do you think? Do you think this is just a classic lol skill issue type of moment? Or do you have actual experience with this? Have you had this? Have you thought about this as well? Am I crazy? Am I overthinking this? I just wanted to know. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, the usual. Let me know what you think. I'd love to get your thoughts. And good luck to all the teams qualifying for the major. I hope you guys make it. Can't wait to see some more stickers. And yeah, skill issue, I guess.